see if that picked it up any better. There we go. And what in the world? Whoops. Wrong screen. Sorry, that was my combination screen. As my cousin used to say, you can tell she's a professional. Being sarcastic, obviously. So let me Minnie Mouse a few things here. Get some stuff out of the way so that it doesn't throw off my screens and whatever. And there goes my camera again. It likes to zoom in and of itself. I swear to God that my computer is taken over by the Fae. That's just the way it is. There's no excuse about it. Could not find whatever. I don't care. Alright. I like to use the I should say, the YouTube chat just because it's a little easier for these tired old eyes. You know what? Let's do like this. Oh, double D. Okay, let's see. Can I put that here? But is that going to allow me? No, it's not going to allow me to be big enough to do that. So we're going to take this. Just some behind the scenes stuff, folks, is all I'm doing. I'm just moving some screens around so that I can see them easier. No, I don't want to cancel the zoom. There we go. I'm going to get the zoom out of the way here. Let's see what we got here. I do need to see my OBS just enough. Why is it so small? Size matters, you know, in a lot of things. Alright, now I can get that right out of my freaking way. Well, no, hold on. Pero se kapay mga Lord Pepito. We're going to move this. I'm going to try to move this to there so that I can move this to see it here. I hope that's not going to interfere with that. Alright, last but not least, there. Okay, now at least I can read the chat. Alright, it's been, I was looking up the records and stuff, it's been over a year since, I mean I did, I think, a couple short clips, but it's been over a year since I did a regular show. I'll be doing this Sundays at 4:30 for now. It'll either be Sundays or Saturdays. I'm doing this today because basically I didn't have enough ready. And why am I blurry? I hate my computer. Anyway, I didn't have enough ready. The channel wasn't hooked up for whatever reason. It was having a brain fart. So I decided to hold this today. I am, however, going to have there we go, that's a little better. I am probably going to have this on Saturdays because I think there's some people in England and Ireland who might want to watch the show, friends of mine, and 4:30 Sunday night would be like 9:30 Sunday night for them, or later. And you know, maybe some of them have to work early the next day or whatever. So it's just, usually people don't work on the weekends. A lot of people don't anyway. So it's easier to have the show on a Saturday afternoon. But then I have to find a kind of, why is that blurry? I have to kind of fight with time zones because if I hold it too early, then those on the West Coast, like right now, it would be 1:30 in the afternoon. People are probably eating lunch, or if they are working, they're working during the day or whatever. So stretch that over. I hate my computer. Did I say that I hate my computer? I think I said that I hate my computer. There we go. Okay. No! Let's see. I guess that's about the best I can do. Alright. Anyway, so, I am the Holy Harlot. From the Church of Redneckia is the name of the channel. I'm the harlot, main harlot. I am a sex worker. More retired than anything nowadays because I'm a little bit older. I'm not as agile as I used to was. But, you know, grandmas and grandpas need fun too. I'm just saying. And this channel is meant to be, I guess you could do it a shortcut, meant to be everything that the GOP would call woke. I don't consider myself, quote unquote, to be woke because that's a designation like ally that I try to strive for, but I don't put upon myself. I can't call myself an ally of a group that I'm not a member of. I just flat out can't. Doesn't matter how much I want to support them, doesn't matter how much I actually do support them, doesn't matter what I say about them in a positive way, whatever, how I defend them. It's not my place to do it. But there are members, a few groups that I am connected with. The disability is one. Sex worker is another. That is a group. The IWW, or is it the IWWU? Can't remember. Anyway, has a sex workers union in it. In Germany, God, I don't know about nowadays. I'd have to look at the laws, but I remember going back years when I was stationed over there, sex work was legal. They ran it from the government. And people didn't have a problem with it. Didn't ruin marriages, didn't cause, you know, social chaos, whatever, all the usual crap that the right wing and some on the left try to claim. Another thing that I also support here, try to support, is various marginalized groups. There's a long list, like, you know, it would take forever, but, you know, black people, indigenous people, different disabilities, because just because I'm disabled in various ways doesn't mean that I'm a member of all disability groups. So I try to look at it as if I try to show support for a group that I'm not a part of. I try to speak in support of a group that I'm not part of. But I try not to speak for a group I'm not a part of, and I try not to speak over a group that I'm not a part of. And even groups that I'm part of, whether it's trans or sex worker or disabled or whatever, I'm not the feckin' Pope, okay? I can't speak for everyone. You know, we don't have a Pope like that. Much as the right wing would want you to claim that, you know, think that Caitlyn Jenner, I can't stand that fucking bitch, is. Oh, and by the way, this channel has quite a bit of swearing in it at times. So if that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. You know, you don't have to watch. It's not going to change. Just the way it is. Like I've said on all my social media at various times, and on my Blue Sky, I say almost every day. I think it's even in my profile. I am kind. I try to be kind. I do not try to be nice. I don't do polite discourse. I don't do civil discourse. I don't try not to do tone policing. Having said that, that doesn't mean you can come on in the chat or wherever and say any fucking thing you want you want to say. Excuse me. Sorry, I had a cough the last 2 days. On my Facebook, it is allowed. I don't know how much it is allowed here, so I will say it in a different way. On my Facebook, I say always P Nazis. That usually involves a part of my body rotating at a rapid rate of speed towards someone else's part of their body. I'll just put it like that. There is, we're going to get to what the charity thing is for here in a second. I'm trying to make this brief, but I'm a woman and I'm Irish, so I don't do brief very well. Or as the old saying goes, I don't do long story short very well. But if you want to disagree with an opinion in mine, if I have an opinion, like black cherry ice cream is the best cherry ice cream in the world, you can have a different opinion. You know, it's okay to be wrong. Or if you like, I detest sport teams, but so let's say you like sports. I don't like sports. The closest I ever came to liking sports was the Olympics, and I quit watching it because it kind of tore me up to see people bust their butts for 4 years, you know, strain relationships with their family, their friends, everything else, and then come down to 1/2 second of a slip on the ice and just all of it's gone. And I just didn't want to watch that anymore. Like when I watch music reactions, if it's a reality show, which is what they are, like America's Got Talent, Ireland's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, Mongolia's Got Talent, they're just all over the world now. Or The Voice of Germany, The Voice of Russia, The Voice of whoever. Okay. Started in the U.S. and it's gone all over the world. I don't watch the early stuff because I don't want to watch people get disappointed. I don't want to watch people who think that they do good enough, and they may sing well. I sing fairly well when I don't have a cold and sound like a frog in a bucket. But I know I don't sing well enough to go on any of those shows. Some people think that they do, and they get on those shows and they get devastated when they find out that they don't have quite what is needed talent-wise. We're not talking about, you know, what the judges may or may not want, which is part of it, but they're just, frankly, not good enough. And I feel so sorry for them. There goes my camera again. I hate that thing. Anyway, so, I'm blunt, I'm direct. I'm autistic, I have ADHD. If you ask me what I think, I'm going to tell you what I think, not what I think you want to hear. And I don't mean to be rude, but like not all of us, but like a lot of autistic people, we say what we think, and we think what we say. And trying to work our way through the holistics and that society and those structures where there's so much subcontext in speech and body language and everything else, and then with verbal means, if you will, sayings and whatever, that can mean one thing in one context and a completely different thing, but the same words in the same tone of voice in a different context, and we're just like, what? So I'm going to be blunt, and I'm going to be direct. And like I mentioned in the STAA show, which you should watch every Sunday, by the way, and their Patreon version too. Like I mentioned in the show, and like I mentioned on my Facebook, this particular show is going to be why I tell some people in the queer community to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. Having said that, let's get to the Venmo and all that stuff. So, Crystal is her name. Keeping her kids alive is her game. I've already talked with Crystal, had this conversation with her to what I can and can't reveal. You know, I don't want to blast her life story and everywhere, but the father is not in the picture. He can't be. And even if he could, he didn't have the means at the time to really provide for her. She lost a baby in a miscarriage. Okay. She was in the hospital for a while. It's not like something normally that you can go, oh yeah, I'll be in, I had a miscarriage last night, boss, but I'll be in today. Not going to happen. So as a result, she lost her job, which I think is another bunch of capitalistic horse shit. But anyway, we're not here to talk about politics for that part. So, That's my opinion, which I can back up. But anyway, she lost her baby, she lost her job. Where she lives, which is the same for a lot of states, and I think it might be true for all of them, if you don't work, if you're not 65 or older, and you don't work at least 20 hours a week, you don't get EBT, and you're usually not eligible for a lot of benefits. She has kids, young kids, like kids that are, a pair of twins that are still needing formula kids. She did get back to work. She has transportation, which is difficult for her because she lives so far away from anything. She was way out in the boonies, out west. And I can't speak to saying exactly that being indigenous made it worse for her, but I kind of have that impression. Conversations with her and conversations with other people. Didn't cause this situation, but it made it worse for her. And so she almost lost her place. Was going to be homeless with her kids. Right now that has been staved off, but she needs help. She needs diapers, she needs formula, she needs food, she needs school clothes, she needs whatever. Okay. I have made a list. I will put it in the pinned post after the show. You know what? Actually, I'll do one even better. I've already had the discussion with her, and she does have. I've set up a Amazon wish list for her. Okay. And I like those because much as I hate Amazon, and I am a socialist, but I hate Amazon, I have to deal with what I have to deal with to try to help people. Because if I had the fucking money that Bezos did, or Musk does, or Bezos does, or Musk does, or Buffett does, or what's his name, Bill Gates does, or whoever, hunger in America, what are you talking about? What hunger in America? And you know, while we're at it, since I wiped that out, why don't you send some money overseas and help some people eat instead of bombs? Novel concept. Anyway, try not to delve too deeply into politics, because this show is going to be about Crystal and the other issue. Crystal is, I've had many conversations with her, deep, in-depth conversations. She really loves her kids. She really cares for her kids. And people say, well, that's a mother's job. Okay. Obviously never heard conversations or the expositions I've had about my childhood. I don't celebrate Mother's Day, and I don't celebrate Father's Day. But I tell you what, I would give damn near anything in the world to be able to have a mother, to grow up having had a mother like Crystal, or a mother like some of my sisters. But I didn't have that. Didn't have parents like that. These kids are unlucky enough in the circumstances, to be in the circumstances that they're in, but lucky enough being in those circumstances to have someone like Crystal be their parent. She's busting her ass, she's doing what she can. And so that's why I decided to make this show a charity show. That's why you see that little, I think they call it on fixed noise, the Chiron, whatever, the scrolling across the top of the screen. There's PayPal, there's Venmo, and there's Chime. Okay. You can also do, she can't do Cash App, but there is a relative of hers that can do Cash App, and then send it to her. They get money from Cash App and then send it to her with PayPal. Or you can do Venmo, or you can do Chime, whatever. Okay. One of the problems that I've run a lot of GoFundMes, and I have one of those too set up. One of the problems that unfortunately happens with a lot of aid efforts is that people go, oh, well, I can't send much, I can only send $5, and that's not enough, that's not a lot. You know, you're right, it's not a lot. It's almost a box of diapers. It's, you would not, if you don't know, check out the price of formula nowadays. Holy crap. Ridiculous. It's price gouging, nothing but. Capitalism, nothing but. Anyway, and so it's dozens of dollars for a can that, because she has two, last a day and a half, 2 days. $40 a can. The older a mammal is, and we are mammals, the older a mammal is, the more they can sort of, at least in the short term, endure hardships and privations like this. Kids can't. Especially infants can't. They have to be fed. There's been times that Crystal's gone without food herself to get food for her kids. And that's something that no loving parent should have to do in this, the richest society in the world. What the fuck ever. So, that part of it, this is that Chiron is, I'm going to call it that for now, is going to keep going. Okay, top and bottom. You can donate there. You can, I will type her name, Facebook name, in the chat now. Whoops. Not all capitals, though. I'm not shouting it. I think that's the right order. It's the right spelling. I think it's the right order. You look up that name on Facebook. You look up, go to the Church of Redneckia page on Facebook and look up that, even just the first name, Hahaka, or Hahaka, and it is Lakota, and you'll see, look that up through my Church of Redneckia page, and you'll see links where you can go to donate. You'll see the link for the GoFundMe, and you'll see the link for all these above here. I would like for her not to have her kids to go hungry. I would like for her not to have her kids to go hungry tonight so that they can eat tomorrow. I would like for everybody not to go hungry. That's part of my shell concept, and that's in my main page. Pajuta Maniwen. Okay, thank you. I don't know why I think top. No, I don't know where that came from in my brain. Thank you, Indigenous. Like I said, they need food. First of all, before anything else, they need food for the older kids, and by older I mean like 2, 3, whatever. Okay, they need formula for the infants, which is expensive as fuck. Toilet paper and diapers. Those things right there. Boom. I mentioned a couple of things. She gave me a list earlier, a couple hours ago, and I'm going to talk with her and make an updated list and post that on all my social media. Okay. And I'll post a link to this show afterwards, the rerun, so that people on my Blue Sky or whatever can watch it there and or donate. I would like for them to have food tonight. I would like for them to have food tomorrow. I would like for them to have a stable intake of food. Poverty is one of the, poverty and privation are the two worst things that this country faces, that poor people in this country face, are two of the worst things that poor people in this country face. Regardless of what group you come from, regardless of whether you're disabled or not, whether you're a marginalized group or not, everybody does. Not everybody, but the poorer 20% damn sure do. I remember a comment by George Carlin. He said the rich pay 5%, they get all the money. The middle class do all the work and pay all the taxes, and the poor people are there just to scare the shit out of middle class. And that's exactly what it is. There's no reason why people in this country should go hungry. None. Period. But, you know, I'm going to grab on to him for just a second. The Trump administration recently made this big crowing claim about how they got so many people off of EBT. No, they didn't get them off. They forced them off. Some people can't work, but yet, you know, try to get on disability. Indigenous says she lives in one of the most impoverished counties in the U.S. A Pine Ridge res is worse off, but Rosebud res is poor too. Yeah. There's no reason for poverty in this country, and other than capitalism, obviously, part of the system. It's not a bug; it's a feature. And Trump made many promises about how he was going to get people off of food stamps, off of EBT, SNAP, whatever word you want to call it. I'll mean the same thing. Fraud, 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 fraud. Okay, so there's less than 3% of fraud in America for EBT. And some people will say, well, 3% is still 3%. Okay. I told someone, this is a couple years ago, so the numbers have changed. This was about 5 years ago. I told someone where I was working at the time, they were pontificating in the break room about all those damn people on welfare and blah, 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 and paying for EBT. And I said, you know, I know for a fact that none of you nor anybody in this room makes $30 an hour. I guarantee it. If you make $30 an hour here in Michigan, okay, at that time, you know how much you pay in state taxes and federal taxes combined for EBT? $36. All your taxes, you pay $36. You know how much you pay for the subsidies for Walmart, for Exxon, for excuse me, all these other big companies, Barnes and Noble, not Barnes and Noble, Amazon, whatever, all the subsidies and everything, almost $500. But you're worried about that $36 because you've been taught, rich people telling middle class people, and these aren't even middle class, they're lower end, very low end, if you want to call them that, but rich people telling lower class people that poor people are the problem. So, having said that, give some money up. $5. Oh, I only have $5. Okay. But if 10 people sent her $5, that's $50. That's food for at least a couple of days for her and the kids. That's diapers. That's a can of formula. Because remember, that shit's $40 to $50 a can. Holy crap. That's a can of formula that'll last her babies 2 days. 20 people send her $5. That's $100. So, and I've donated to myself. I live on a fixed income, but I know what it's like. When I get EBT, there are some people, she's one of them, there are some people that I send stuff to. Because I'd rather go without than see kids go without. And I'm not saying that anybody is legally obligated to donate. You're not. You don't have to donate. You don't have to donate a penny. And there's some people who can't. I donate what I can to different people, not just one person, not just her, but different people a month. Once that limit is reached, I have to stop. Because it doesn't help them if I harm myself in donating too much and giving away too much. I have to be able to eat too. And, you know, I've lost 100 pounds in 2 years. People are like, oh yeah, that's cool, you know, you're dieting. Okay, if you want to call it that. You know. So, please, help her kids eat. Help her kids be able to go to the bathroom and wipe their butts. Help their kids, her babies be able to have formula. Help her babies be able to have diapers. $5. I got a ride from a friend of mine today because I had to go pick up meds at Walmart because it's the only place I can afford to get them. And as a thank you to her, and I bought one for myself. I bought each of us a Coke. That's $5 right there. Now I've already sent money to her as much as I can. I have to have something in my life to look forward to, and it's kind of pitiful, I know, when buying a bottle of Coke, and I'm not even talking a 2-liter, buying a bottle of Coke once every week and a half to 2 weeks is something to look forward to. But that's the situation I'm in. That's a situation millions of Americans are in. And yet, time after time after time after time after time, people vote against their own interests. They support people against their own interests, which is my segue into what I'm going to get into. But let me see what Indigenous says first. Class divides most marginalized folks in a hellaciously puritanical way. Look at the way divide between white gays and the rest of us. Yeah, absolutely. This is part of one of the groups that I'm going to be talking about. In fact, I'll do it right now. My little tagline or whatever during the SGA show was, my show is going to be, is my camera pivoting? Anyway, sorry. It's new camera to me, so I'm still figuring out the logistics of it. But this is one of the things the thing I said on SGA show about it was that I'm going to be telling a couple of different portions of the queer groups to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. White gay men are one of them. White gay lesbians too, but more specifically, white gay men. Cis gay men. Especially some drag queens. Hashtag not all drag queens. And a lot of them, community-wise, are better than what they used to be. They used to be horrible. That's why I wouldn't support the HRC, the Human Rights Commission, the biggest gay queer organization in the United States, or why I wouldn't support them for years. You'd have trans women walking in pride parades, and you'd have people, members in the organization itself, in the HRC, telling them that they didn't belong because they're trans. The amount of racism, copyright, in the queer community is, oh my God, I mean, it's endemic in America to begin with. Give me just a second here. It's endemic in America to begin with, but the amount of racism in the queer community is just horrific. And especially, again, with drag queens. It's not the only subgroup of queers that are racist at all. But for the combination of, in my opinion, it's my opinion, so if you can quote me statistics or whatever, I'm more than willing to change it. But in my opinion, the group that is the most combined, racist, ableist, and ageist, are white male drag queens. And I hate to change my mind meme because I can't stand that motherfucker, and I'm glad he's lost prominence. But I'm not even going to mention his name. He can go fuck off. But this is, we started out, talking about gay men. Okay. But now we're going to be talking about the main part of the show. So where the hell is my show running? La-da-dee, la-da-dee, we all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine, yellow submarine. On the day that I was born in a yellow submarine. Let me make this font smaller so I can see it in a smaller number of pages. Instead of 17, I make it down to 6, and I can still read it. Okay. So, sellouts, turncoats, traitors, backstabbers, Judases. The Merriam-Webster's dictionary has over 3 dozen synonyms for the concept of betraying someone or something. But, sorry, I also have a little touch of the COPD as a result of smoking for 25, 30 years. So when I do get a cold or allergies or whatever, it makes it a little rougher for me. It almost sounds like I hit a joint. I quit smoking that in '89. Anyway, surprise, 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 queer people are queer people. So we have good and bad. And we can be just susceptible to this concept of selling out as any other group of beings. Who am I talking about specifically? The LGBT people. No, I didn't say LGBT or LGBTQ or LGBTQIA or whatever. I said LGB, or more commonly also known as LGB without the T. I don't know if they came up with that designation by themselves. I think some groups did, especially in England. But, excuse me. A lot of us call them that. It is primarily associated with the UK-based LGB Alliance, which advertises itself as a gay rights group. But it is most known for partnering with far-right groups and people to attack trans people with smear campaigns and supporting anti-trans legislation. And guess who their biggest supporter is? The English fucking twunt. Also, one of them admitted on the stand during a lawsuit that most of the people in the LGBT organization are straight. So that when I was going through those memes, there's that one meme where it's got two guys in the front talking, and the one guy says, his sign says down with trans and drag queens. And you see a line of them behind them, handcuffed, walking across behind them. And the guy with the beard says, you know, thanks for all your help in getting, we finally got all the drag queens and all the trans people arrested or whatever it is. Indigenous says they're bigoted, colonizing, assimilants. Yeah, okay. Asses, it's a good version too, but yes, I agree. And the guy with the sign says, okay, so cool, so who are we going after next? And the guy stares at him. He says, who are we going after next? And the guy stares at him. And then finally starts to realize, he says, who are we? And the guy's still staring at him. You motherfucker, that's who they're going after. Like the one meme I showed said, they started rounding up trans people, and I stood with them because I read the rest of the fucking poem. Also, a lot of people don't know, I didn't know until about a decade ago, that Pastor Niemöller, the guy who wrote the poem, was for Nazis. He promoted Nazis. He supported Nazis until he got thrown in to a death camp. Typical conservative. I used to say this about all conservatives. Actually, I take that back. I started out with Republicans and Democrats. Then I went to conservatives and liberals. And I'll expand on that in a second. But I said, if something bad happens, Republicans will say, it didn't happen to me, I don't care. Democrats will say, we'll try to make it so that it doesn't happen again to anybody else. Well, that's not true anymore with the Democrats. Look at how many times the Democrats have voted with the fucking GOP. The NDAA bill where 81 Democrats voted with them. The bill where a anti-trans rider was thrown into it, amendment at the last moment, and 15 Democrats voted with it, because if they had not either time, the bills would not have passed. It would have gone back to the House. We're talking about the House here. It would have gone back to the House, and they would have had to work on the bill again. Maybe even take that amendment out. But no, we don't care about that. And they actually had the fucking gall to say, more than one person said in these words, I'm paraphrasing, but more than one person said, well, you know, we had to vote that way, we didn't like it, we regret our vote, but if we had to vote again, we would vote the same way. Then you didn't fucking regret it. You didn't give a shit. you didn't care because it doesn't affect you. Nancy Reagan wasn't a supporter of stem cell research at all until it was revealed that Ronnie had Alzheimer's and that it had some promising research lines to help battle Alzheimer's. Dick Cheney, at the minimum, didn't give a shit about gays and was very anti-gay, and the whole administration was, of course, until his daughter came out as a lesbian. Then you have the flip side of it. You have people like Blair White, and I'm not going to get into her, I don't give a fuck. She's a YouTube, if you don't know her, good. She's a racist trans YouTuber who's anti-trans. Yay. Then you have the queen of the anti-trans in America, Caitlyn Jenner. And you say, what? Shawan, how can she be anti-trans? She's trans herself. She has literally said, boys should not play in girls' sports. Gee, where does that sound familiar from? And yet this same fucking American twant was able to and was willing to play in the women's PGA golf tournament. Excuse me? Sellouts, turncoats, traitors. I try really hard when an asshole, for that reason, when an asshole is an asshole for that reason, because some trans people are assholes because they're assholes. It's not because they're anti-trans. Okay, because not every trans person is this fluffy, kind, knee-high sock wearing, although I do have knee-high socks. And I do love computers, and I do like some emo music, and anyway, but I'm not goth, but I do like some goth music. Okay, and trans and whatever. Anyway, so, but some trans people are assholes just because they're assholes, because it's Tuesday, whatever, like cats. Okay, that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about these people who take in the privilege that they have, and 95% of the time it's money or some form of power, because that's what money is power, the power to do what you want with your life. Because if you had unlimited money, think what you would want to do. For 5 minutes, just think what you would want to do. Now, what gave you the power to be able to do that? Money. In this society. In a lot of societies, but especially in this society. Caitlyn Jenner is a classic conservative of I got mine, fuck you. And like I said, I hate misgendering people. I refuse to misgender her. I refuse to dead name her. There's an Irish comedian. His name is David Niall, Niall. I think it's how it's pronounced. It's spelled. Okay, because it's fucking Irish, so you know we spell shit weird. He was one of my favorite comedians. When I first heard of him, I thought, fine, cool, dandy. Till the second or third, it was a dry bar comedy or something, I forget what it was, and he dead named and misgendered her. Fuck you. It's not comedy. It's not funny. Fuck Dave Chappelle. I don't give a fuck. I don't care who likes it. Fuck him. Punching down is not funny. It's not comedy. And now that Dave Chappelle is getting blowback from a lot of people, I thought you guys were up for comedy. Anyway, I'll get back to my own group. Okay. It's been a few years since this happened, but Caitlyn Jenner was crossing the lobby in a hotel to get to the elevators to go up to a CPAC conference, okay? And somebody hollered out and both dead named and misgendered her. I really struggle with this because I hate the idea of misgendering, period. I don't think it's okay in any situation, period, but it is really, really, really hard for me not to have schadenfreude over that. Very, very hard. Especially because, like I said before, I am kind, I am not nice. Then, after Trump won the first time, and he started talking about booting trans people out of the military and whatever, and then she's like, she said something on Twitter, something along the lines of, "Oh, Donald, I thought, you supported trans people, whatever, you need to call me." Bitch, he ain't calling you. You served your purpose. As somebody who's a great friend of mine has said this before, I don't know where, maybe they made it up themselves, maybe they got it from somebody else, I don't know, but tokens get spent. And she sure the fuck was a token. And is a token. So, fast forward a little bit. She still got her money, she still got her wealth to cushion her from most of the effects in society. And then guess what? She can't travel because her birth certificate does not match her ID. And she complained about it again on Twitter, and I think, I don't know if she's on Facebook too, but I heard it was another platform besides Twitter. I refuse to call it X. It's fucking Twitter. She complained about it and said, I don't understand why this is happening, blah, blah, blah. Bitch, you ain't special. You might think you are. You might think you are all the way up until after everybody else has gone first. They line your ass up against the wall. Because you ain't any fucking different. I almost never use this word. So it's a slur, so it's coming up. So I'm going to put my hand up while I'm using the slur, and then I'll put it down when it's over. So if you don't want to hear it, you can block it out or whatever, and I may have that part of the video, the audio blocked out. I don't know. But all you are is a tranny to them. All you are is a chick with a dick. All you are is a bitch with a stick. That's all you are. Doesn't matter how much fucking money you have, doesn't matter whatever. Because all that power, all that money can be stripped away from you like that. Same for Elon Musk, as far as that goes. Although, he's a rich white man, so that'll never happen. But he got worried there for a while. Because they were threatening to lock his funds. And if you can't use your cards, you can't make your money, then what the fuck are you going to do? Then all you are is just a white man who's got delusions of grandeur. Like a lot of them do. But we're not going to get into that. But you ain't no different, bitch. You ain't no different than me. The only difference is you ride in a jet. A private jet. Ooh. Whoop-de fucking do. You buy your clothes from whoever, from Gucci or whoever. I get mine from Walmart. But you know what? Deep down, we're still the same. We're both still two trans women. I'm a little older than you. A hell of a lot fucking wiser than you. But we're both still trans women. And when push comes to shove, all this anti-trans shit that's been happening is aimed right the fuck at you, just like it is me, just like it is my friends, just like it is my family, just like it is all the other trans women and trans men in America. And let me get on that little soapbox for a second, okay? I am fucking tired of the trans men erasure in this fucking country. And it's because of one reason and one reason only. The main reason. The main reason is because trans men, unlike us, aren't in their porn stashes. Because I goddamn guarantee you that as a sex worker, I can guarantee you that many straight guys, have paid for my services over the years. And I've seen them. I don't go looking for them. As far as I'm concerned, it's a job. I don't need to know. Other than the minimum for my safety. I don't need to know anything else about it. But I've seen their pictures on Facebook. I've seen their pictures on other social media. Excuse me. Sorry. Don't smoke, kids. God, I sound like a boomer. Of course I am, so. I've seen her pictures on different places on the net where we both frequent. Never said anything. Never said, hey, how's that blowjob I gave you? Never said nothing like that. But I've seen the anti-trans statements that they make, the anti-queer to begin with and anti-trans. And yet these same motherfuckers, they're not only in my DMs, they're in me. Why do you think it is that when I was going to say the Russians, same fucking thing, when the Republicans have a convention anywhere in the United States, they crash Grindr. They crash Grindr in that area. Tinder maybe even too, I don't know, but they crash Grindr in that area. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that trans porn in general, there are some specific subsets. I'm a member, I do work for the local BDSM community here. And by local, I don't mean just this city. People here are often surprised when I don't mention names, I don't mention numbers or whatever, but I say that the local BDSM community here is hundreds, maybe thousands of people in a very small rural area. But that's more than one county, okay? That's not just this city, that's more than one county. And I see people, I've met people. I've met one former client, and I get along with him great, and I get along with his wife great, because his wife knew about it. And as long as I was clean and he was clean, she didn't give a shit. If she had, I would have stopped immediately. If I'd have found out, oh my God, you didn't tell your wife, or you told your wife and she was pissed off or whatever, nope, I'm done, see ya. But he said that she was okay, so I had her contact me. And she said it was okay. So then I didn't have a problem with it. Because it's just a fucking job. Well, literally it's a fucking job, but it's just a job. Okay, that's all it is. I have a meme that I've made where it's in one of my pairs of work shoes. Mary Jane's, if you know, 5-inch heels. And just like from about just below the knee down is the picture. And it says, my work shoes are just as valid as yours. And so you have that also, that stigma of being a sex worker against trans people. You have trans women who have been arrested, some initially convicted, but obviously it has been some time, but you have trans women who have been arrested for just walking down the street. They weren't sex workers. They were just trans, just walking down the street, and cops get overzealous because fuck cops. All cops are bastards, period. I don't care. Yes, that one. Yes, that one on that show. Yes, that one in your hometown. Every fucking one of them. Oh, the cops are going to save us from ICE. No, the fuck they're not. Here in Michigan, one of the purple, and I tend to think at least in the bigger areas, is a little more blue than purple, state, had a cop recently who arrested a woman. He waited till she got done with her interview and then arrested her because he thought that the reporter wouldn't be recording it. And the reporter did anyway. That's a cop. Not ICE. It's a cop. Fuck cops. Fuck ICE. Anyway. So, some of the claims that anti-trans people, queer groups have made are like we're trying to make lesbians go extinct. We're opposing conversion therapy bans, and you're goddamn right I am. The Supreme Court just said recently, no, it's okay. You can use a conversion therapy, that's not a problem. So the state said, no, we can't. And they got a way around that. And I believe it was California. Somebody can, maybe look it up, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you see the show later and you say, hey, it was this state or whatever, I don't have a problem with that. But they said, you know what? We can't come out and say, oh, conversion therapy is bad because it's conversion therapy. It's based on, conservative values or Christian right-wing values or whatever. Can't do that. So they can base it on outcome-based therapy because outcome-based therapy is illegal in the United States. You can't determine an outcome and then force a patient to go through therapy to achieve that outcome. It also happens to be called brainwashing. Something else the religious are good at. So anyway, so far that's been successful in the courts. So we'll see how that goes. If it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, and if it goes from there, whatever. Okay. The Trump administration has already been talking about using some trans prisoners as test subjects to do conversion therapy. There's a case of a woman in Florida, trans woman in Florida, in prison. I don't know what she was in prison for. At this point, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's fucking murder. Because that's not the issue here. She put it off and put it off and fought it, as, not physically, but verbally and whatever, as long as she could. Finally, the prison wanted her to shave her head. So she finally gave in. Part of their tactics were like putting her in isolation for just the most bullshit of reasons. I'll go fucking crazy, I don't care. Death before detransition. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. All this anti-trans rhetoric, though, they don't give a shit. They really don't give a goddamn fuck about whether people are trans. We're the other. We are the Jews of 1939 and 1940. Somebody got pissed off at me a long time ago. Well, 5 or 6 years ago. Forever in social media. But I mentioned that on my Facebook that I had at the time. And they said, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. You know, you weren't in the Shoah and then da-da-da-da-da-da. Motherfucker, where do you think the pink triangle came from? And here's the thing. When the Soviets, when the United States, not even the Soviets, when the United States came and rescued people from the death camps, the Jews, the Romanis, the political prisoners, all that stuff, they freed. You know who they didn't free? The prisoners were in the pink triangles, because it was illegal to be queer. So they shoved them right back into prison. The prison conditions may have been slightly better, but they shoved them right back into prison. So fuck you. We've had our own Holocaust. We've had our own Shoah. And we're heading that direction again. People go, oh, well, you know, we're on the slope to capitalism. We're on the slope to fascism. No, we're fucking not. We're in fascism. We are in a fascist state. It's just that it hasn't hit enough people yet, and enough white people yet, because let me ask you a question, the audience watching, and I'm not going to tell you the number. I'll let you look it up. Teach yourself something. How many non-white people were killed by ICE last year? I'll give you a hint. It was less than 100, as far as I know, and more than 10. But a lot of white people, oh, you know, yeah, we're gonna occasionally do a no king protest, this, that, whatever, and I'm not excusing their murders. I'm not trying to diminish their murders in any way, shape, or form. And they were murders, assassinations. Alex Pretty and Renee Good were killed. And in Renee's case, I don't know about Alex, but in Renee's case, fuck her, she's a lesbian. It was a little less indigenous, but not too far off. Now, that's the official count. That's not the people who died in ICE, that may not be included, I don't know if it is, the people who died in ICE custody from lack of health care. Or who were dying and ICE booted them out so that they didn't have to count those numbers. That's happened a lot. So like that one meme said, you know, I heard that they were coming for trans people, and I fought back for them because I've read the rest of the fucking poem. We are the other. We are the ones being focused on right now. So, every single time I see anything out of that orange shit Gibbons' mouth, President diluted diapered mango tits, out of his mouth, the first thing that pops in my head is, how many kids did he fuck? Because that's all this is. I mean, they would use it for other reasons, of course. But if the Epstein papers didn't exist, but the Epstein papers do exist. No. None of this horse shit about, oh, we're going to redact this and we're going to redact that. They won't. But what they should do, what I would like to see them do, is release all of the Epstein files, papers, whatever the fuck you want to call them, okay, with only the names of the victims redacted. Every other motherfucker in there needs to be shown. And I've seen a meme and I agree with it 100%. Well, Trump isn't the only one in there. Oh, really? Well, yeah, well, what about Bill Clinton? Fuck it, arrest him. Well, wait, what? Fuck it, arrest him. Arrest him. If he's proven to be, if there's enough evidence to charge him, at least, charge him. Charge all the motherfuckers. But you can't do it. And then you have people like Nick fucking Fuentes, little Nazi pissant boy himself, cowardly motherfucker, who said, most famously, your body, my choice. And then when he got doxxed, like he's advocated doing for other people, ran to his fucking mama's house, said, I'm okay with it, as far as the people in the Epstein files, if they're conservative, the people in the Epstein files raping kids, didn't bother him a bit. And it sure the fuck doesn't bother any of the other talking heads either, because Megyn Kelly was all, oh my God, it's horrible, it's horrible, and the Epstein files, and this and that, whatever. And then, when it started coming out that more and more conservative leaders and priests and pastors and ministers and da-da-da-da-da were in the Epstein papers, well, there's a lot of difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. No, there's fucking not. They're both fucking kids. They're both children. You pedophile excusing motherfucker. You hypocritical piece of shit. I'm not exactly sure what YouTube's terms of service are as far as wishing something on someone, so I'll just say that for Megyn Kelly, for Nick Fuentes, for Donald Trump, for Mitch fucking McConnell, for anybody who's in the Epstein files, for anybody who supports anybody who's in the Epstein files, for anybody who tries to excuse anybody who's in the Epstein files. I'm not a Christian, as y'all know. I'm a Celtic pagan. Indigenous says there was a one man who was blind and sick and he kicked him out in January, Minnesota, and posted it. Yep. I'm not a Christian, as y'all know, so I don't turn the other cheek. That's not a concept with me. Okay. But I think, God, I had this thought and now I fucking lost it. Give me a second here. Talking about arresting everybody and, or at least charging everybody who's, whatever. But yeah, it's just a distraction technique. All the anti-trans shit is just a distraction technique. So that didn't work, or at least it started to work a lot less. A lot of American people might not like trans people. They might not even like the idea of trans people existing. But they also realize that they're getting screwed over by the Trump administration, the one they voted into office, and they're tired of that. Because, again, that's a big conservative trope. We don't care about it until it happens to us. Well, it happened to them. And it's happening to them. And now the thing with Iran, where Scott Bessent and others are talking about how gas prices rising is good for the economy. No, motherfucker, it's good for you. It might be good for Wall Street. It sure as fuck ain't good for Main Street. And just like most other capitalistic institutions, and I'm talking about the entirety of America, not just one or two, there comes a tipping point at which the poor and the impoverished are no longer able to buy the goods that they want them to buy. Why do you think some companies have dropped their prices a little bit? Why do you think Amazon, run by that fucking coward, initially came out and said they were going to mention on every single product that had one what the tariffs were? And then he got a phone call from President Diluted Diaper Mango Tips. And suddenly he changed his mind. Gee, I wonder why. They're all in cahoots together. And I don't completely believe in no war but class war. Okay, I do understand the basis for that. Okay, because a lot of this is driven by that. But here's the thing. You can say no war but class war. But when you have people who are dead set on eliminating other people because they're gay, because they're trans, because they're black, because they're indigenous, because they're disabled, that no war but class war basically is horseshit. That needs to stop. You get that to stop, and then we can start building class solidarity. I've said this before. You know, people talk about reaching across the aisle or building a bridge. I'm not building a bridge to something that I don't like what's at the other end of it. I damn sure I'm not reaching across the aisle with conservatives. Period. End of discussion. I don't give a fuck what the topic is. No, I'm not. And I, like a lot of other people, will almost assuredly not be voting Democrat for the presidential election. Here's the thing though. Y'all, I'm getting close to the end of the show. Y'all need to pay attention, not just to the president. Stop paying attention to politics just every 4 years. Stop being a voter version of Jill Stein. Instead, and there's some things that Jill Stein has stood for that I do like, don't get me wrong. Okay. But look at the down ticket ballots. Look at the down ticket races. Vote there where you can. I wish I could. Again, like I said, we have right now a blue governor, and one of the houses is controlled by the GOP, and one of the houses is controlled by the Democrats. Okay. So this election is going to make a big difference in Michigan. But I still don't think it's as close as what a lot of people think. I think there's more blue than red here. I don't think it's as purple as what they think. But you have we're talking about just the offices now. Okay, so you have the office of the governor and lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and attorney general. Okay, those can be all from different parties even. If the governor wants to, you have a running mate, for a Republican Secretary of State and a Libertarian Attorney General or whatever. Okay. But below that are the two houses, the Senate and the House itself. Everything else below that in the area that I live in, and then we're talking like a 5-county area, is all Republican. Not one Democrat in this area has run for quite a while. If I were younger, and if I didn't have some of the legal baggage that would just doom any candidacy that I had, I might be tempted to run. I probably wouldn't win, but I might be tempted to run. I know I'm going to be supporting a couple people here. I know I'm going to be supporting Katrina DeVille in Wisconsin, District 8, I believe it was. Okay, she's a trans woman. Openly trans, openly running, hoping to win, and I hope she does win. I used to support, here in Michigan, I used to support Mallory McMorrow. And then I found out she was funded in large part, well, not in large part, but a good extent, by AIPAC. Now, fuck all of that shit. Abdul El Said is who I plan on voting for. And he doesn't have any corporate donors at all. He's all grassroots funded, and he's leading right now. Not by much. He's definitely leading the Democratic in the Democratic primary polls. Okay, he's leading by about 10 points. He's got a pretty solid lead there. Running against Peters right now, it kind of flips. It's like 1%. Sometimes it'll be 1% for Abdul Al-Said. Sometimes it'll be 1% for Peters. You know, it just depends upon the poll, when it's taken, where it was taken, etc. So they're kind of neck and neck right now. So I'm really hoping that he wins. Because the last thing we need is another fucking Republican senator here. And unfortunately, a lot of people have this idea that, oh, well, you know, everything bad that happens is you know, the current people in office. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's not. We had Republican governor for, God, it was like 30 years. 20, 30 years, something like that. And longer, but not in sequence, but longer, you know. And fucked over a lot of the state. We finally got Whitmer in, and Benson, and Nessel. And I'm not happy with what Nessel did with Flint. So as far as I'm concerned, in that, for that topic, she can go fuck herself. But for a lot of the other stuff, she's been very blue and very supportive, which kind of blows my mind. But again, you know, it's money. Okay. So I'm hoping that we get blue governor, blue secretary of state, and blue attorney general. And I don't want to indulge in conspiracy theories, but it just does seem odd to me that Trump accidentally had just enough votes to pull ahead in all 7 battleground states. And that both he and Musk crowed about guaranteeing the election before the election even took place. And I know some of that's, you know, probably most of it, maybe even all of it. It's just the usual Trump blather. But it does make you wonder. Indigenous says the privileged believe in that no war but class war bullshit. Yeah, exactly. You know, it reminds me of what the HRC used to say. I'm getting ready to shut down now. It reminds me of what the HRC used to say. 2 trans people, again, the Human Rights Commission, 2 trans people. We can't add you to our support for end the legislation, which is non-discrimination, Equality and Non-Discrimination Act legislation. In other words, you know, you can't discriminate against someone because they're trans this year. But if you give us enough money, maybe next year. And they did that for year after year after year after year. In the meantime, like I said, some of them were recorded. Some of the HRC members, you know, the official organization, were recorded being transphobic in pride parades. When it was fucking a black trans woman and a Latina trans woman that were the forefront of Stonewall that started the fucking pride in the first goddamn place. Oh, and by the way, neither one of them was white. So, trans people, some trans people are sex workers. Most trans people aren't. There are trans people who are doctors, lawyers, professors, counselors, cops, not very many, and they don't belong in pride in uniform. Lifeguards, just about any politicians. By the way, McBride can go fuck herself. Talk about sellouts, but not just about any walk of life that you can think of, CEOs. In America, there's at least a few trans people in that field. Sports, whatever. There are less trans athletes in the entire United States in all levels of school, college, and professional combined. Trying to think of a valid comparison. Then there are members of a full roster of a football team. But we're somehow the danger. And some of that is media. You know, when Joey, Indigenous made that comment, the privileged believe that no more of a class war bullshit. Okay, because it's how it's proposed, how it's put forth. For example, it was either the Guardian or what's the other one? The Daily Mail, but I call it the Daily Fail. Okay, posted a headline which said that trans woman beats 1,000 cis women in marathon race. I think those were the numbers. All right, she did. What they didn't say in the headline was that she was beaten by 600 cis women. So part of that problem in reversing the hatred and whatever, whether it's transphobia, whether it's racism, whether it's whatever, any of the ills perpetrated on mankind by mankind, is how the people in power put it forth. And don't swallow for this 100% horseshit of the liberal media. Yeah, look at the liberal media of ABC. Look at the liberal media that made people leave 60 Minutes. Look at the liberal media that fired people from 60 Minutes. Look at the liberal media that forced a cartoonist out of a job for the New York Times. Mark Cuban offered her a job, by the way. I think he hired her, I'm not sure. She was a political cartoonist. I want to say her first name is Kathleen. I can't remember her last name. Kathleen or Kathy, something along those lines. And she drew a cartoon, political cartoon, for, I believe it was the Washington Post. And Jeff Bezos said no. Now, prior to that, the Washington Post had pretty much had a free reign. I mean, obviously they couldn't advocate violence or something, but they had pretty much a free reign as far as political cartoons went. Until a cartoon was drawn where there was a statue of Trump. You couldn't see all of it, but you could tell it was Trump. A golden one, of course. And there were a bunch of people bringing bags of money as tribute to lay at the feet of this statue. And one of them was standing holding a bag and just happened to look a little bit like Jeff Bezos. And he didn't like that. So he got that cartoon quashed. And so she said, fuck you, I quit. And within like 24, 48 hours, maybe 3 days, but it was a very brief time period, Mark Cuban offered her a job. And I think she accepted it. I don't know for sure. This has been a while ago. And I remember reading about it on Blue Sky. So, all right. I'm going to get going here. ¿Qué hora es? Hour and a half. That's about right. I don't want to, y'all taking up, an hour and a half or so out of your Sunday to watch a show, and I truly appreciate that. Trans people aren't your enemy. Capitalists are your enemy. If you own a gas station, you are not a capitalist. If you have to work for your money, you are not a capitalist. If you could quit your job now, whatever your job is, and live very comfortably wealthy for the rest of your life, you are not a capitalist. Indigenous says, later as peeps, hydrate and medicate. Yeah. We trans people, we poor people, we disabled people, we marginalized people are not your enemy. Your government is. And some of you are starting to realize that. It's about time you did, frankly. You're not invited to the barbecue. My barbecue. I can't speak for, you know what, I'm not even going to use that phrase. I apologize, I take that back. You're not invited to my house for Thanksgiving. Not even to argue. But no, you don't get to shit on people for 8 years or more, actually about 12, almost 12 anyway, 10, 12 years, you don't get to shit on people for 10, 12 years, calling us names, deriding us, denying us health care, voting for people who want to deny us health care, voting for people who want to throw us in jail just for being who we are. You don't get to shit on people, and then when something harms you, go, oh, I'm sorry, can I come back to your house for Thanksgiving? No, the fuck you can't. Sit your punk ass out there in the snow and be homeless and see what it's like. Because you're definitely not welcome at my table. You want to vote along with how I vote? Fine. You want to support what I support? Fine. I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you forgiveness. I don't owe you comfort. I don't owe you holding your little hand and going, oh, it's okay, you were an asshole, but you're better now, Johnny and Jane. No, fuck you. And if your response to that is, well, I'm not going to support you because you're an asshole, then you're not going to fucking support me anyway. You never did in the first place. I get a little irritated sometimes. I have to remind myself to keep it, a little bit toned a little bit lower than what I actually want to say for YouTube. Because if I could say what I actually wanted to say, like if I was on Patreon or something, it would be a lot stronger. So, and I may make a Patreon for this, but if I do, it's going to be kind of bare bones. It's just going to be maybe reruns of the shows and whatever. I'll upload them and then, do whatever I need to do to, I think you have to verify age for that. A lot of people are doing that nowadays. I made a new Gmail for this show called the Church of Redneckia. And Gmail told me they wanted age verification just because I had an email. And what they wanted was for me to show credit card number and a debit card, because I tried debit card. Debit card wouldn't work. It had to be a credit card number. Okay. Or a selfie clip where I use my camera and I turn my face back and forth and whatever. I did that for OnlyFans. Or a picture of my state ID front and back. You're out of your rabbit ass mind. You think I'm giving you that fucking information. Well, we'll keep your information safe. Fuck you. That's just for data mining. It has nothing to do with age verification or safety. So, if they ask you for that, tell them fuck off. I still have enough, because if they don't turn you down from the email, they just kind of limit some of the things you can do, whatever. I don't give a shit. All I care about is whether I get an email or not. If I get my emails, I don't give a fuck what the rest of it is. So anyway, after having ranted and raved for 93 odd minutes or whatever it is, thank you for popping in. I appreciate it. Remember to help Crystal out. She has babies. They're drinking formula every day. Babies. She has kids. She does have an older kid, but that older kid has some health problems, I'm not going to go into detail, where she can't watch the younger kids and lives at home with her mom because she needs help. But yet the state says that she's not disabled. So, and they're trying to battle that too. So, please, I've done GoFundMes for myself on occasion. I've done GoFundMes for other people on occasion. I did one a couple years ago to try to get the money up for the name change. I got the name change, and then I had to pay a medical bill, so that went gone. So I'm going to try to do it again, and I'm just curious to see now, because here in Michigan, you have to send your fingerprints up to the FBI if you're over 22 or over. It doesn't matter the reason. You can be trans, you can be not trans. It doesn't matter. You still have to send your fingerprints out to the FBI. I don't know why, because I served in the military. They're there, but whatever. I'm not worried about it. But please, help Crystal. You got PayPal, you got Venmo, you got Chime, and then you can contact me or contact the Indigenous Heretic, and if you want to send money through Cash App, and then we can get it routed to her. Okay. She's low on. In fact, I haven't asked her yet exactly, but she's low on or about to run out of food with kids. She can go maybe a day or so without eating. I definitely can go a day or so without eating. Kids can't. They need your help. They really, really, really need your help. And so, yeah, I did a lot of ranting and raving, but this show is also a way to get attention brought to her and her plight. So please help her. I want to thank you all for coming out, and can't do an Irish goodbye because you can watch me. So, Slán, have a great weekend. Peace.